People are underestimating just how big it really is because it's gone quiet. It's gone quiet largely because of what the Bank of International Settlements did to BRICS last year before the meeting in Russia, where they pulled out of Mbridge. And they said that we can't be part of a technology, which is the cross-border payment system, Mbridge, that will allow countries like Russia to sidestep Western sanctions. But you see, the thing that really pissed them off is that this was a technology that for almost 5 years was developed between China, Hong Kong, Thailand, and the UAE through the BIS Innovation Hub. So the Bank of International Settlements, a Western institution, was part of this for almost 5 years, helping them integrate it into the system. They wanted to actually integrate it with SWIFT so that they could use it, the whole world could be connected. Instead of it being a competitor with the dollar, I think they wanted an alternative to it. And the BIS pulled out at the 12th hour as if they were just realizing that Russia was the R in BRICS. I mean, it's on the balance sheet at 42.22 an ounce. So marking it to market would be the very least, but why not value it higher? Why not?
And they've done it before, as you've alluded. Go ahead.
They've done it before, and it's an easier way out of the problem than outright default or hyperinflation. Now, it will be very inflationary. It will devalue the dollar tremendously. But that's why I think the crumbs, Vance says, being the world reserve currency isn't so great anymore. And Mirren says we need to bring back manufacturing at a weaker dollar. Judy says they're going to peg it to the bond market. He told me that, Andy, when I was part of the transition team. She says, it was on my podcast. You can go and listen to it, Miles Franklin Media. Look at the Judy Shelton interview. She says it. She's been saying it subsequently on Twitter. I've seen it on X. I don't know. The crumbs point to the remonetization of gold, backing it not to the dollar, but to the Treasury market to keep rates low. Now you have a chance to bring back manufacturing at a reasonable cost at a devalued dollar to sell your product to the world. And we have enough in the way of being leaders in thought, and we've always done well with our back to the wall, the United States. I think this is an option because short of that, you either print or you default. Richard Russell was my mentor, Andy, and I had the good fortune of getting to know him a little bit and meeting him. And he said the Fed has two choices but to inflate or die. Inflate or die, he always used to say, inflate or default. This was 20 years ago he started saying this, at their indebtedness then. And now, what do? I mean, the amount of debt that we have, 38 trillion, only is about 20% of the real debt of almost 200 trillion when you factor in Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, government and military pensions.
The U.S. government officially owes $38 trillion, but unfunded liabilities like Medicare, Social Security, and pensions push real obligations closer to $200 trillion. Richard Russell, a market thinker decades ahead of his time, warned that the Fed's only choices are inflate or die. Printing money keeps the system alive, but at the cost of eroding confidence. Default would collapse markets overnight. Neither option is sustainable, yet the clock keeps ticking. With deficits adding trillions every year, policymakers must find a path forward, whether through controlled inflation, debt restructuring, or a controversial return to gold-backed mechanisms tied to Treasury debt.
A trillion seconds ago was 31,688 years ago, and we are going about that much into debt every 100 or so days. This is a problem that will not go away unless we begin to grow our way out. We can inflate, we can manipulate, we can default, or we can find a way to grow our way out. And that's why I think they keep saying these things about the dollar. Maybe this is why we're imposing tariffs of 50% on India and tariffs on Mexico and tariffs on Canada. They talk about the trade balance being unfair. Well, no, it's not unfair. Is it? Is it unfair that we can't sell our goods to the rest of the world the way we'd like to? No, it ain't unfair, because part of being the world reserve currency for all of these years has basically been, look, you're gonna give me your stuff that you make, Andy, and I'm gonna give you my printed dollars. Bang, here's my dollars. And then I expect you to take the reserves and put it into U.S. Treasuries. What has that done? Well, that's kept our interest rates low, that's kept our asset prices high, and that's kept the goods that we buy at Walmart and Target and Costco very cheap. So over the last 50 years, we've had cheap goods, low interest rates, and high asset prices as a result of being the reserve currency. So is it not fair? I'll leave that up to everyone else to decide, but that is the benefit of being the reserve currency. They call it an exorbitant privilege that we have screwed. We've screwed it up. So now what? So now he's saying that it's not fair. Okay, so let's put tariffs on all our allies. That's not what one would want to do if you wanted to mend fences and bring people back into the fold who want to take our treasuries, who want to take our dollars. Not only do we have massive fiscal irresponsibility, we've weaponized the treasury market and the SWIFT system, and now we're putting tariffs even on our friends. Well, could it be maybe that's kind of the play here? We kind of push people away a little bit from holding our dollars and trading with one another in local currencies.
To offset economic imbalances, Washington has turned toward tariffs, even on longtime allies like Mexico, Canada, and India. Officials argue it's about fairness, but critics say the real motive is to weaken the dollar and rebuild U.S. manufacturing. For decades, America enjoyed cheap imports and low interest rates thanks to its reserve currency privilege. But now nations are resisting. India, for example, dismissed U.S. tariff threats in favor of cheaper Russian oil. This signals a broader problem. Allies and rivals alike are exploring ways to reduce dependence on the dollar, accelerating a trend toward regional trade and local currency settlements.
Kind of get the ball rolling in that direction. Okay, fine. We're going to pack our treasuries, which have, the rails of the system are all intertwined with the treasury system, so we'll back it by gold to the point of it is that I don't know how else you get out of this mess. To your point originally, how do you? You don't. And if rates spike, then what happens? Well, the stocks blow up, the bond market blows up, the banks who hold copious amounts of treasuries and they're undercapitalized and over-leveraged, they blow up. The insurance companies who are flooded with treasuries, they blow up. Stocks, bonds, real estate, the banks and the insurance companies, poof. That's the Great Reset. If rates really were to spike, and when we talk about the amount of indebtedness and the irresponsibility that we have fiscally, who in their right mind would buy a long duration treasury paying 4%? When money creation, dollar's down 11% this year already. And, gold has doubled the performance of the treasury for 25 years. Last year, gold was up 40%. The treasury was up 4.5%. This year, halfway through the year, that treasury is up, 2.5%. Dollar's down 11, so you're negative 9.5% or 8.5% negative real return, and gold's up 40. So you can see this happening as the world is dumping treasuries to buy gold because of this, because of the weaponization, because of the irresponsibility, because of the realization that they have no choice but to inflate or default. So you're seeing an abandoning treasury demand, an increase in demand globally for commodities. What's the West to do? This is kind of my theory that by what I see happening, that it's already in motion.
The U.S. financial system sits on a knife's edge. If interest rates spike too high, the ripple effects could devastate stocks, bonds, and the banking sector. Insurance companies, pension funds, and institutions overloaded with treasuries would collapse under pressure. Such a chain reaction could trigger the Great Reset scenario, an economic implosion followed by forced restructuring. Meanwhile, global investors see the danger and are moving into gold, which has consistently outperformed treasuries in recent years. As trust in U.S. debt erodes, the shift toward hard assets highlights a global vote of no confidence in the sustainability of American fiscal policy.
The tariffs, have we had fair trade? Is it fair that they have to take our currency, which we print away to nothing and from nothing? Isn't it immoral to push a button to create wealth when the rest of us have to work, sweat, labor to create wealth? And so, the tariffs are, but they are bringing some money back to the United States. But is that, who's ultimately bearing the responsibility of this? You look at India as an example. They put a 50% tariff on them, saying if you buy Russian oil, you're going to pay a 50% tariff. But India says, go pound sand. That even though, yes, we are their largest trading partner, it only amounts to about 2 or 3% of their GDP. their Russian oil connection is worth far more than trading here in the United States. So what are they going to do? They're going to find other ways of doing business, and they're going to expand. You look, for example, I made a really big deal, Andy, about the fact that China came out a few months ago and they said, we've connected our bridge technology, it's Mbridge, we've connected it to 11 countries in Southeast Asia. They're called the ASEAN countries, ASEAN, and to 5 Middle Eastern countries. Now, these 11 Asian countries, they have population twice the size of the United States, about 800 million people. And they are by far, right now, China's largest trading partner, by far. And then you add in the 5 Middle Eastern countries. These countries are growing in terms of their middle class, and they are expanding. And when you put all of these countries together, yes, they want to do business in the United States, but are these tariffs having negative impacts?
Across Asia, the Middle East, and beyond, nations are quietly building an alternative financial system. China's Mbridge payment network now links multiple countries, enabling direct trade without dollars. BRICS nations are accelerating local currency settlements, while new gold-backed mechanisms emerge to replace reliance on U.S. Treasuries. Even once loyal allies are hedging their bets, recognizing that American sanctions and weaponization of the dollar carry long-term risks. With gold vaults expanding in Hong Kong and Saudi Arabia and digital currencies tied to physical reserves, the groundwork for a post-dollar trade system is already being laid, faster than Washington seems willing to admit.
You know, you look at a country like Canada or Mexico, where the United States represents 70 or 80% of their GDP. That would be far more harsh to them than it would be to any of these countries in the BRICS neighborhood. And so the countries in the BRICS are beginning not only to de-dollarize, but they are beginning to move away from trading with the U.S. the way that maybe we're underestimating. I think that they couldn't do it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just happen to think that the tariffs are the wrong message to most of the world. Some of them, yes. Some of them, like Canada and to Mexico, it would be a very big deal. But they make a big deal about India. Now if I'm getting charged a 50% tariff, and you only represent just a paltry, 2% of my GDP, I'm probably going to say, you know what? There are some things that are more important in this growing alliance, and the cheap Russian oil that we're getting is more important to me than this, and maybe this is backfiring. And that's why you see Modi and Xi and Putin embrace each other last week, give hugs at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. I just think that it's a little bit more nuanced than that, and I think it's pissing off a lot of the world. So I don't know. I don't know just how beneficial it truly is. And a lot of people will tell you that the actual tariffs, the public, us, bear the costs of it.
Yeah.
And if not, they're not going to do it. They'll find other places to trade to a degree. Now, maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but I don't think on the other end it's as simple as saying, yeah, we're going to threaten them with tariffs, so they're going to end up, giving in. But it appears that even countries like India are not giving in. And maybe this is what we are seeing, a move away from the dollar hegemony. And because of this type of coercion, instead of befriending and giving the carrot, we give the stick way too much. And I think that it's having negative impacts.
If these trends continue, the world may soon see a parallel system rivaling the dollar's dominance. BRICS, the Belt and Road Initiative, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization collectively represent over 40% of global GDP and most of humanity's population. By integrating gold settlement, cross-border digital payments, and multinational vaults, this coalition could bypass Western finance entirely. For the U.S., the choice becomes stark: cling to old privileges and risk alienating partners, or adapt by reshaping its role in the global economy. Either way, the era of unquestioned dollar supremacy is fading, and a new multipolar financial order is emerging.
People are underestimating just how big it really is because it's gone quiet. It's gone quiet largely because of what the Bank of International Settlements did to BRICS last year before the meeting in Russia where they pulled out of Mbridge. And they said that we can't be part of a technology, which is the cross-border payment system, Mbridge, that will allow countries like Russia to sidestep Western sanctions. But you see, the thing that really pissed them off is that this was a technology that for almost 5 years was developed between China, Hong Kong, Thailand, and the UAE through the BIS Innovation Hub. So the Bank of International Settlements, a Western institution, was part of this for almost 5 years, helping them integrate it into the system. They wanted to actually integrate it with SWIFT so that they could use it, the whole world could be connected. Instead of it being a competitor with the dollar, I think they wanted an alternative to it. And the BIS pulled out at the 12th hour as if they were just realizing that Russia was the R in BRICS. And it really pissed them off. And not to mention Saudi Arabia was the 5th full participant in Mbridge, and it really pissed them off. So then we get to a point recently. One thing that I think a lot of commentators in the BRICS space have missed is exactly the fact that Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, came out and said, this new bridge technology, we are opening up to the rest of the world with the exception of the dollar, the pound, and the euro. And so when you talk about the fact that these 11 Asian countries and 5 Middle Eastern countries are already connected to this bridge network, double the population of the United States, their largest trading partner by far, 35% of global GDP right now is connected. And then he says we're opening up to the Belt Road Initiative. 75% of human population, 50% of global GDP. At the same time, you have BRICS Pay. BRICS Pay is the B2B side, the retail side. They're right now negotiating with rolling it out to the Belt Road. So you're talking about this technology of cross-border payment systems free from dollar intervention that will be rolled out around roughly, if you put in the BRICS, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which right now represents 41% of global population, 34% of global GDP, 24% of the land area of the world. And that's just the SCO. You put that in with the Belt Road, the BRICS, the Eurasian Economic Union, you're talking 90% of human population that will have the ability to trade in local currencies outside the dollar and settle in gold. Now, what are they doing to settle in gold? The Shanghai Metals Exchange said 2 things. 1, you can now exchange your digital yuan for gold like that. You don't have to go to dollars first. And you can take physical possession at our brand new vault, which was just completed in Hong Kong. Vault number 2 is underway in construction in Saudi Arabia with the idea of building multi-jurisdictional vaults all throughout the Belt Road Initiative.